hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Above Average Podcast, the only refuge for the slightly above average. And I'm your host, Lake, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tanim. Tanim, how you doing? It's been a while since we last recorded something, and I want to apologize, and I'll get into why I was out a little later, or I could just get into that now. But
you were living your life.
I was living my life, but so I had some family obligations, and I learned a lot about
Keyword living.
Yeah, I learned a lot about Buddhist funerals over that time.
Nice.
But so one of my favorite parts is I don't know if it's like a Buddhist thing or a Chinese thing, and everyone take it with a grain of salt that this is like just me witnessing things and surmising things, kind of from an outsider's perspective. So one of the funny things is like you got to like ritualistically burn money, like fake money, to have people like bribe their way out of hell.
Monopoly money?
Yeah, basically Monopoly money, but it's actually like someone must like manufacture it because it's got like it's got its own currency format, and it's like the first bank of hell.
Wow.
and each of the bills is like $10 million. So I burned like $50 million, which I hope it lasts them.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, just because
you would do that.
I think that's your walking around money forever. So you got to have at least $50 million. But a funny thing I learned about it is okay, two things. Like one, so like going to a funeral home is like cursed. So you got to have some like lucky money to like buy yourself something to like undo the curse.
You got to pay a cover?
No. So like the family pays you to come, and they're like essentially like paying you compensation for being cursed, for being like around the dead.
All right.
And so like that's supposed to like offset it. And another thing is when they close the casket, you're supposed to like avert your gaze. And I was just thinking like this definitely started as a tradition of like Buddhist monks being like, okay, everyone look away, we're gonna close the casket. And it's like, quick, take the rings. And it's definitely just like a thing one Buddhist monk like invented so he could like do something. It was like, okay, take that necklace, or quick, throw last week's garbage into the coffin.
It's like a movie.
Exactly, yeah. So like that's my theory of how it developed, but yeah, no, it's it was an interesting experience. But so anyway, personal life, meaning I missed a lot of shit. We never got to do our Oscar debrief, which I know everyone's sick of the Oscars, so we'll keep it short. But did you see Will Smith slap him live?
Yeah, not live, but I heard all the commotion, and we didn't get to see the actual version because it was all edited and they muted the audio. But then on Twitter, you can see like I think it was like the UK version or the Asian version that showed all of it.
Oh yeah. Because I think in Japan, like because they're broadcasting, it's not in English, or it is in English, and I guess they're like creating subtitles live or something like that, and so because like not so many people speak English in Japan, like they can keep the audio. So thank God for Japan. we got to see Chris Rock say like, "Oh, Will Smith slapped the shit out of me," but the whole time I was thinking, please, please, please let Will Smith win Best Actor. That's going to make things so awkward and so uncomfortable for everyone, and it's going to be beautiful. I more than anything. And I was giddy when
they didn't eject him, I felt like
yeah. So they say they don't know the winners in advance, like because like I don't know, Ernst and Young or one of the accounting firms like secrets away the voting, and like
no, I'm sure some higher execs know.
I'm very conflicted on this one, because on the one hand they didn't kick out Will Smith presumably because he won Best Actor, but on the other hand, remember last year's Oscars where they like rearranged the whole order of things, where they
did some first, like
they did Best Actor last because they thought Chadwick Boseman was going to win for Ma Rainey. and like his family was going to give a nice speech, talking about his life and that sort of thing. But then he didn't win, and Anthony Hopkins won, and he wasn't even there because of COVID. And he's like 80 something. So come on, there's no way that was planned. Like that was a shit show. Like I think they're guessing, and like this time they got it right that Will Smith was going to win, but like last year they just got it wrong.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly. So it's though the funny part is that means if like no one knows, that means that like maybe when remember when we thought La La Land won instead of Moonlight?
They got the thing wrong.
Yeah, where they got Best Picture wrong, and like everyone had to like switch awards.
Yeah.
Like if no one actually knows the results, then they could have just never known. Like if Damien Chazelle hadn't looked at the cards, like he would have just walked home with the Oscar. So good for you, Damien Chazelle. Oh, and one fun fact: Ariana DeBose won Best Actress for playing Anita in West Side Story, and
Yeah.
only 2 Hispanic women have ever won an Oscar, like an acting award at the Academy Awards, and the other was Rita Moreno, also for playing Anita in West Side Story, but like in the original version. That's ridiculous. Like it's like we welcome diversity, but only if you play Anita in West Side Story. That's all we want from you. That's it.
So make more West Side Story movies.
Yeah, but like no, only remake West Side Story according to Hollywood. That's the only thing we reward. Like she's definitely not the only like Hispanic woman to win any Oscar, because like I think her name is Castro Smith won for Encanto. And did you see Encanto?
No, I did not.
Okay, so there's something there I want to talk about, but so Encanto, I just don't get the "we don't talk about Bruno" thing. Like it's not a bad song, it's just catchy. Like songs that people just can't get out of their heads. They're usually like catchy, kind of annoying songs, like Gangnam Style or like Despacito, like that sort of thing. It's not. I don't know. It's not repetitive enough to be catchy, I found.
What's the issue with that song?
Well, just like every parent I work with just says like, oh man, I'm so sick of the song "We Don't Talk About Bruno," like because my kid listens to it on repeat all the time because my kid loves Encanto.
Okay.
And I listened to the song, and like I said, it's not a bad song. It's just not what I expected for like an earworm song. It's not like super repetitive and catchy and annoying that like songs like that usually are. Anyway, so I saw Encanto, and I have a bit of a gripe with it. Now I liked it overall just because like it's kind of a ripoff of the novel 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, with the golden butterflies and like the small hidden Colombian village in the mountains where people have magical powers. Like that's just what 100 Years of Solitude is. But it shares this common feature that started to bug me about new Disney and Pixar movies. And I don't know if this just started or it's just Turning Red and Encanto, but they both have this thing where they do a clumsy intro sequence where the character's like talks to you and says like, I'm such and such, and I have these personality traits, and allow me to introduce you to all of my friends in this song or intro sequence. Whereas like, it's kind of clumsy and takes me out of it. And I just think it's like they're not badly written overall, but I think that specific part is bad writing. Like I'll give you an example. Like Finding Nemo has a great introduction sequence. Like it's not like clumsy or ham-fisted. You see Marlin, you see like him with his wife, him with his eggs, and they get attacked by a barracuda. So and like the barracuda eats his wife and all the eggs. And so immediately like who Marlin is, why he lives alone with his only son, and more importantly like why he's an overprotective father, because like all of his other kids and his wife got eaten by a predatory fish. So like, but like it really masters like the show don't tell thing. like where it shows an incident in his life that like sets the stage for what happens in the rest of the movie. And I think Up did that, right? Like, they do the opening montage where they show him like
Why he's alone and like grumpy.
exactly, yeah. So like, that's not as good, I don't think, but like Finding Nemo was definitely more natural, and I think like did the best job. Like they established the most about a character in the least amount of time in the least clumsy way. So it was okay. So I won't say it's a new thing because like The Incredibles does it a little bit where they tell some of the story through like newsreels, and they tell a lot of the story through newsreels and like kind of a documentary they're filming about the Incredibles. So like the narrator tells you like why there's no more superheroes, and why they can't come back, and why they're just living boring ordinary lives. So I guess it's not a new thing, but yeah, that's just annoying. The annoying thing about like Encanto and Turning.
Yeah, you don't want them to like dumb down the story just to explain it to you.
Well, and it gets things off on a bad foot. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like it makes me underinvest in the characters. Like, if it doesn't, like, if the introduction doesn't come naturally, like, I don't care who these people are. Whereas, like, I care who Marlin the clownfish is. I got emotionally invested in like his little family, and then like sad that his family is taken away. Whereas like if you just tell me like, oh, this is Evelyn and she's super precocious and these are her dumb friends, like I don't give a shit. Maybe I'm just an old fogey now, but like I don't know, that's just how I felt. How did you feel about Turning Red, having, because like you grew up in Toronto in the 2000s, I didn't. So was that fucking weird?
It wasn't weird. It was cool to kind of see some of the landscapes and landmarks and stuff. But I don't know. People got offended. They're like, "It's not Toronto," or "This is Toronto." It's just like, settle down.
Wait, why did people get offended? Like, what did they say was wrong? I saw something wrong in the movie, and I'll mention that. But I want to hear what other people.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't their interpretation of Toronto. Like it was super touristy take on what we have here.
Yeah, fair enough. That must be how like other people feel when like their city gets filmed. Like people like there's definitely more to Sydney than the Opera House, but like in Finding Nemo, you're only going to see like the Harbor Bridge and the Opera House.
Right. They want to make it still pretty open, vague, so that you understand it and not go too in depth. I mean, they did cover like Chinatown pretty well.
Yeah, true. Though there's no Red Panda Temple in Chinatown,
No.
as we know, unfortunately. Which if they pretended the Lucky Pearl do you remember the Lucky Pearl restaurant?
Yeah.
Like the yellow one, like it was like it's this crazy yellow pagoda thing with a green tile roof, for those who don't know. And it was a really like unique and distinctive building, and I guess it kind of looked like a temple, and it became like a mini mall kind of thing with like clothing stores. But then they like sold the building and they demolished it to make this hideous monstrosity that just looks like it's pretending to be like made of like shipping containers, and it's so ugly. And the worst part is like no tenants have moved into the building at all, so like it's just like a homeless encampment in the foyer. And I'm so sad that they took away the Lucky Pearl restaurant from us. Like that's apparently like there's like a plaque on it that said it used to be called like the Labor Lyceum. So I guess it was like a union thing before. So like I guess people back in the day were probably upset that like they took away Labor Lyceum. Anyway, Turning Red, I've heard from people, was like a little too real in some ways. My wife is like is Chinese and grew up in Toronto in the 2000s, so like that, according to her, it was just like this is too real, this is too relatable. I'm not like I'm not doing this. This
really
is
it was too real, so didn't like it.
well, so yeah, because it's just, well, if you think of, I personally don't like to watch movies that are like too close to my own life experience, like just because movies to me, this is not to say like representation is important, it totally is. It's just like if it parallels it too much, it's like it becomes disturbing in a way, or at the very least like it's no longer an escapism.
Right.
I refuse to watch like movies about like, you know, parents getting divorced, like, and but like only if they're like dramas that don't have anything extra. Like Mrs. Doubtfire is like different because it has like Robin Williams dressing in drag and shit, but like, you know, I don't really want to watch like Boyhood or
Yeah.
anything, or like the one with Adam Driver where he punches the wall. Like that's just like is too much like my own childhood, so I'm just not interested. I guess like, you know, Super Bad I like, and that's like high school kids from about when I was in high school. So I don't know. It's not like universally applicable. It's a very je ne sais quoi. But anyway, there's one thing I nitpicked, or a couple things I nitpicked about Turning Red that are wrong about Toronto, and a couple things that are right. Like, do you notice they had Daisy Mart in it?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had a conversation with anyone about Daisy Mart?
No, but I mean, it is kind of like people know about it.
Exactly. But it's like, you know, that made people, you know, at least the friends I talked to about it, like feel like seen, just because it's like Daisy Mart is not something you've ever had a conversation about, and yet it's there in the movie, and it's like a uniquely like Toronto thing that, you know, no one else would know about, and it's just weird. And it's weird to think about because it's not something that like occupies a space in your brain, but it's like special once you see it. But anyway, the bad thing is they had those, like, you know, those trash bins we have on the street where there's like a slot for like garbage and a slot for like paper recycling and a slot for like bottles and cans.
Yeah.
Those did not exist in the early 2000s. No one gave a shit about recycling in the early 2000s. The environment hadn't been invented yet. So, you know, people just threw shit in the trash. There were no recycling bins just on the street. That's ridiculous.
Well, also people didn't turn into bears
I don't think red pandas are bears. I think they're like raccoons.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and there's too much texting. Like texting wasn't a thing you did in middle school back then, because like, you know, it was just like flip phones where you had to like type using the numbers. It was just like, I don't know, it was like that didn't happen until like a little later. Like it's almost right, but like the timeline's just like a little off on that. You know, I get like it probably wants to be a little more relatable to kids today, so they're like, yeah, we texted back.
Wasn't it set in like modern day?
No, it was set in like 2004 or
Oh,
some shit, or like 2003. That's why like they had like all the boy bands, and like they wore jeans under dresses, and you know, all the fashion was dumb. Yeah, no, it's meant to be like somewhere between like 2003 to 2006. It's like, you know, like peak tip drill America.
yeah.
Back when it was like, oh yeah, we're never gonna have a recession. We're just gonna drive Hummers and live in McMansions and wear frosted tips and pre-recession hubris. We didn't know. We didn't know.
Nice.
Oh, and the Sky Dome. They still call the Sky Dome the Sky Dome. Yeah, like because so it's whenever, you know, it's before whenever they changed the name to the Rogers Center.
I think they were talking about changing it back, but who knows?
Which they should probably do that. Do you think companies like actually make money buying naming rights? Because people are like so resistant to change.
Make money? No, but they just want more brand recognition.
Yeah, but do you think it works? Because like you know, like Rogers already owns like the Toronto Blue Jays or whatever, and or wait, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they already own the Blue Jays. So like, I don't know. It seems a little, and you know, no, everyone's so resistant to calling it the Rogers Center and have been for so long that like I don't even know if it like actually helps people think about the Rogers Corporation.
Yeah. I mean, they just call it the Rogers Sky Dome.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, the worst part is, for me, the worst part is when like brands rotate which stadium they have. So like Scotiabank used to own the Ottawa Senators arena, and now they have the naming rights to what was the ACC. So it's like super confusing that was the Ottawa Stadium was the Scotiabank Center, and now the Toronto one is the Scotiabank Arena. That one, like once that happened, I was just like, God damn it, Scotiabank is following me. Like it was just, I don't know. It means there's no meaning behind it, because like the names just change and they move. So there's no like association I have with Scotiabank Arena because like it's two different places. Fuck you, Scotiabank, for going after my arenas, trying to make me remember new names. I will never remember the new names. I guess I already did. I think I just proved them wrong.
Yeah, they won.
Yeah, they won. So no segue into this one, but remember the Travis Scott concert?
I do.
Yeah, where like people got trampled to death, and yeah, it was like 10 people got trampled to death during a human stampede at a Travis Scott concert. My friends in the medical industry have informed me that there's like this whole trend in medical startups and like tech startups of trying to like come up with silly bullshit solutions to like human stampedes. Basically, all they've been able to come up with is life alert bracelets.
That's it?
So no, basically. So they were explaining to me the process, which was that, maybe they thought, okay, let's just have like a heart rate monitor on it. So that like, if your heart rate gets like elevated or like if your heart stops, then like we go after the bracelet. There's going to be like a tracking device on the bracelet to show you where it is. But the problem is like, if you just take off the bracelet, like then, or you just lose the bracelet, then it's not monitoring your heart, and they're just going to like end up, it's like, oh shit, there's another heart attack at the trash can again. So it's going to create like a lot of false positives. The only real, your heart rate goes up because you're on drugs because you're at a Travis Scott concert or something like that. But the only alternative they've really come up with is like, you got to push the button yourself and like call the paramedics.
Yeah, but people would just misuse that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like they'll like bump it by accident and like call someone. But like also if they're being trampled to death, like I don't think they can call the life alert bracelet. So like, but yeah, it's just like essentially what they've invented is like a life alert bracelet for young people. It's like, hey kids, you want a life alert bracelet for when you fall and can't get up? I don't know. I thought that was really funny. I mean, human stampedes aren't funny, but like people's attempted terrible solutions to human stampedes is pretty funny. But this got me looking into human stampedes are actually, or crushes as they're called, are actually, super common. 10 people died at the Astroworld Festival crush, and that's it's a terrible tragedy. But like, if you look, have you ever gone to the Wikipedia page for like Hajj disasters?
I have not.
So the Hajj disasters are like incredible in their scale. Like a bad year, like just because it's like so many people going there, it's like hundreds of people die like all the time just from like plane crashes. Like a hotel collapsed in 2006 and like killed 76 people. A crane collapsed in like, oh yeah, crane collapsed and killed 100 people in 2015. One time there was like a protest of Iranians, and like the Saudi government shot like several hundred of them. But the big one is like, because there's like millions of people at the Hajj, they have human stampedes.
Yep.
And so a bad year is like 200 people die in stampedes in the year, and it usually happens at the stoning of the devil. But in 2015, like 2,000 people died in like a human crush at the Hajj, and it's just like 10 people dying at a Travis Scott concert is huge news here, but like 2,000 people dying is like barely registered. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
People who've gone on the Hajj. Like, did they witness a stampede or?
They did. I mean, my parents went, and it's kind of crazy because it's all self kind of regulated. So stampedes will happen if just one person goes nuts and like, I need to get to this area quicker, and then everybody else follows. And then there's a lot of old people, so they get trampled, and there's a lot of women too.
Wait, so you think like more old people go on the Hajj just because like you have to go once in your life, and people are like, oh shit, I'm almost out of time?
Maybe, but I mean, it's also really expensive. So a lot of young individuals don't have money for it. It's like $20,000 just to like get like a package of
Okay.
quote unquote like guide who helps you around with travel expenses
No
and stuff.
shit.
But
Yeah, I didn't expect that, and I guess like that includes hotel expenses. But so is that 20,000? Is that like the premium Hajj package where like you get like a hotel room and like they have like like bronze packages where you stay in a tent village?
yeah, that's it's usually on the higher end of 20K one.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. But so like it's all it's all self regulated. There's no like like master like cop like directing you like, okay, you've had enough stoning of the devil, like go towards the grand mosque. Or I don't actually know the order of it, but
No, but I mean, how do you tell a million people to go one way?
but that's the thing. Like, I feel like there must be a flaw in the way the Saudi government does this. Because, like, we have like I know it's not like on that scale, but like we have like big concerts and shit all the time. And, when human stampedes happen and kill like 1% or half of 1% of the people who died in the 2015 crush, it's like huge news. So I feel like, I don't know, there must be like something the Saudi government's doing wrong in terms of like fucking crowd management. Because like,
Yeah,
like look at like the Shanghai subway, like or the Tokyo subway, like where like people just get like huge crowds of people just get like pushed onto the train. And I don't think thousands of people die on their morning commute in Japan every day. There seems to be something amiss here that like the Saudi government must be doing something like off.
I don't think it's the government. It's just the people who have really like religious views and just want to do things for themselves
Which
because they think they're doing it for a higher power.
no, totally, but like I feel like it's not like the Saudis doing something. It's like they're in action to like control it.
Set restrictions
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah,
because like, and I feel like there's so like I encourage everyone to go on the Wikipedia page for incidents during the Hajj, and it's just like the death toll in the last like 40 years is fucking like since 1979, like thousands of people have died on the Hajj. Like and not just like regular, like if you gather a million people in an area, like inevitably some are just going to die of heart attacks. Like that's just going to happen. The death toll is like so extraordinary, like really someone should be like speaking out and criticizing the Saudi government's handling of it. But like I feel like people don't want to criticize the Saudi government because like you can't criticize it from within Saudi Arabia, but also like presumably they manage like who is, and as like custodians of the mosque, they're presumably like they like decide who does and who doesn't get
yeah, it's
visas
a big business.
to go on the Hajj. Yeah, yeah. So like they probably have this whole thing where they're like, oh, if you start shitting on how we manage it, like you're gonna get like slightly less visas, and you're gonna like piss off your population. It's like I'd have to explain to them
Yeah,
why this year they can't go. I feel like there must be something. There must be something like that, but. Anyway, it's that just feels like another example of like, if something happens in America, it's like always a bigger deal than like
elsewhere. Yeah,
something much worse happening, over elsewhere. Though, to be fair, to the media consuming public, I'm sure the Saudi government really wanted to cover this up. Oh, and apparently they did. So the official death toll of like the 2015 Mina stampede is like 769, but according to like basically every other source, it's like 2,000 people. Yeah, they definitely covered it up a little bit, so you can't actually. Oh, and this happened in the tent city, so not people on the premium Hajj. So presumably, like these are people with less money, and therefore, like there's less like it's less like European and American Muslims going on it, and like because if it happened, if they died in the stampede, like I feel like there would be like national outrage in like France and Canada and the U.S. But no Americans died in the stampede, so just kind of got ignored. So yeah, Hajj disasters, definitely something to look up. Interesting and weird.
yeah, and it happens every year.
And it happens every year. Like it's the scale of it is just fucking incredible. Oh yeah, so I was looking up like some people say like the Hajj is the largest human migration in the world because it's several million people. It happens
Yeah,
annually. but there's kind of a dispute because so it kind of there's also like Kumbh Mela. I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's like a Hindu festival where you go to the Ganges River, and like the Hajj is like 2 million people, and this Hindu pilgrimage to the Ganges is like 30 million people. But like it's hard to say whether like the Hajj counts or the Ganges pilgrimage counts, because the Hajj is just going to one mosque in one city, whereas like if you're just if everyone goes to the river, it's not quite the same. And then there's also people also say like Chinese New Year's is like by and large like the largest human migration, because like 300 million people travel to like see their families, but it's not like people coming from one location to go to a single other location. It's just like people going from like cities in China to like rural China to see their families. Then by that definition, like Thanksgiving is larger than the Hajj, because like 50 million Americans travel for Thanksgiving to see their families.
Yeah, or like Christmas.
Exactly. Thanksgiving's actually larger than Christmas in the US. I don't know. That seems ridiculous, but it seems ridiculous there aren't more Thanksgiving movies in America, because like the only
Yeah.
one I can think of is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Speaking of which, there's no Easter movies. Have you noticed that? Like Easter is like a supposedly a big giant Christian holiday, but like, can you name like a single Easter movie like about like going home to your family for Easter?
No, I'm sure there's like kids movies, but
Yeah, but there's like adult Christmas movies where you like, have to like go to fucking suburban New Jersey to meet your in-laws. Like there's a million movies like that. Yeah, there's no Easter movies, and I don't really know why. Like, I get like Christmas is very like heavily marketed, but I guess that's just I answered my own question. There's no money to be made in Easter except by the chocolate industry.
yeah,
I didn't get any chocolate for Easter this year. I'm kind of
cheesed.
I don't think I'm cheesed. I think I'm kind of glad, because like I would just spend like the next 2 days like, oh, why did I eat like 2 pounds of chocolate? What have I done?
Yeah.
Like the self hate probably isn't worth it. Also, like Easter eggs kind of taste like shit. I don't know. It's just they're not good chocolate. They're like, I don't know. It's like chalky and bitter. Ugh.
Yeah, it's been waiting around in a warehouse for like a year.
Yeah, true. Or longer. Like they're like, oh shit,
Longer.
Easter was canceled last year, so we're just keeping it around. It's like,
Yep.
like I ate like a jar of like chip dip the other day, and it was expired.
A whole jar?
Well, I ate like half the jar in like and then I looked at the label, and then it was expired, and I was like, oh fuck me.
Nice. Time to finish this.
Well, but that's the problem is that I don't check the expiry dates on jarred food, because I just assume it like lasts for years. So like that jar must have been like fucking 10 years old. I'm not particularly happy about eating like a half a thing of expired chip dip. I'm not dead yet, so that's good, but I'm still not happy. But I'm gonna use this to segue, because like when you like think you ate something bad and you're never sure if you're like actually sick or it's like a psychosomatic thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So like it's like there's a woman in Toronto who having failed to get social housing for that was accommodating to her condition, opted for like medically assisted suicide, which on the face of it is fucked up. Medically assisted suicide is like one of those things where like it's you don't want you don't want it to be like the easy solution, because other more difficult but better solutions exist. So
Yeah.
it gets even worse, because have you ever heard of the condition multiple chemical sensitivity?
No.
Okay, so it's a controversial condition, and it's basically like a wastebasket condition. So when doctors when you have like generalized pain in your body, and like doctors can't pinpoint a source, like they can't find like, oh, it's like a pinched nerve, or like you tore this muscle, or that sort of thing, or it's arthritis. Like when doctors don't know what it is, they call it like fibromyalgia. And so like fibromyalgia is just like, so okay, I should clarify this. it's not a real disease. It's just that it's a description of symptoms. Anything that's unknown to doctors kind of gets thrown in. So it includes,
Yeah.
yet undiagnosed pain conditions, but it also includes like, or would inevitably include like all psychosomatic pain. Like, have you ever watched Better Call Saul?
Yep.
So you know how his brother has like electricity sensitivity? So and like it's not a real thing. Like it's a psychological condition. And we know it that because people with electricity sensitivity don't actually know when there's electromagnetic fields around. Like, you can like turn them on in secret and they don't have any increase in symptoms. It's entirely psychosomatic.
In your head.
Yeah, exactly. Which, that's not to say it's not a real condition, because like the like mental illness can be like incredibly debilitating, and like especially when like like a psychosomatic condition like that, but it's just not like a physiological problem with your body. And so multiple chemical sensitivities is kind of, we don't it's kind of like that. So we don't know to what extent multiple chemical sensitivity is just like, so essentially it's like an allergy to certain chemicals, or chemicals generally, and it's a wastebasket disease. So if they don't know what's wrong with you, you have multiple chemical sensitivity. So we don't know how much of it is like electricity sensitivity, where it's not a real thing. It is a real thing, but it's entirely psychological. It's not a physiological thing. And we don't know if it's just like undiagnosed allergies that we don't know about yet. It could be a real mix of things. Studies have shown that like a good percentage of them is probably psychosomatic, because people can't tell the difference between placebos. But so what that means is like potentially this woman like was able to get medically assisted suicide because she had like an untreated mental illness, possibly, or she had like an undiagnosed allergy. One of the two. Either way, like if it's an undiagnosed mental illness, then like that should never have been allowed to happen. Because like if you have like
Yeah.
a disease that like your mental illness has convinced you've had, I would argue that like that definitionally makes you not of sound mind to like choose medically assisted suicide as an option. Like it's so unethical that people chose to do this.
And she's dead now?
Yeah, like or like it's not unethical that she chose to do this, but that like doctors allowed this to happen. So like people are saying like this is an issue of like people are saying this is an issue that like she should have had public housing, and she essentially like killed herself because proper social programs weren't in place. And like that's kind of true, but like if it was a mental illness, then there wasn't a physiological solution for a problem, in which case there's like another problem. Like either, I'm not saying there's no problem, but like either way there's a problem. Either like there's social forces driving people to medically assisted suicide, or she just like slipped through the cracks as like a mentally ill person or a mentally unsound person who was allowed to go through with this, and doctors allowed it to happen, and they really shouldn't have. Like that's so unethical. I've come to a point where I've decided like I don't think I'm in favor of medically assisted suicide, just because if it's an option for the government, it means it's cheaper for them, which means like intentionally or unintentionally they're going to drive people towards medically assisted suicide, because they're going to make it the easiest option because it's cheaper. Not intentionally, but they just think it's just where funding is going to go.
Costing less.
Exactly. It's cheaper to have like 10% of disabled people choose medically assisted suicide than it is to like bump up medically than it is to like bump up disability benefits by like 20%, so that people are able to like live their lives well and not
Yeah.
see this as like the only alternative. I get that like people who are terminally ill like shouldn't be forced to like continue living and continue suffering. As far as I'm concerned, if like the government like defunds something and like makes it so that like suicide is the easier option, they've as good as murdered.
Murderers.
Can't like I don't yeah like so, but like you end up with kind of a de facto eugenics through like economic incentive, like not intentional. It's just like you manufacture market forces to, and various nudges and pressures to make this the better option. That's fucked up. I'm just gonna say, like, anyone out there considering that option, don't let the government win. They want you to do this. Don't fucking let them.
Just tweet Lake and he'll convince you otherwise.
Oh my god, no! Don't do that. But like, I'm not professionally equipped to help anyone. But like, it's no. Just strongly encourage people to continue living to spite the government.
Yeah.
Because like, fuck you for not funding social housing or what. So did you hear about like Disney's special district?
No, what's that?
Okay, so Disney is like a huge job provider in Florida, especially in like the greater Orlando area, because they have Disney World, right? Or Disneyland. Which is the one in Florida and which is the one in California?
I have no idea.
Okay, never mind. Not important. So one of the Disney worlds or lands is like in this area in Florida, and Disney Resorts pays like almost $1 billion in state and local taxes in 2021. And so they have like a special district called the Reedy Creek Improvement District, which is essentially like allows the Disney Corporation to function as a county government, where like, they're like, I think the way they did it is like they're the only resident of this county. And so it means they're able to like, it made it easier for them to like function as a county government and provide like firefighting services, water, roads, and power to like the Disneyland area. Because like, or Disney World, because like Disney World's like a huge, essentially city. And so the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, is mad, like real mad at Disney for like speaking out against his bill to like not teach about homosexuality and LGBT stuff in sex ed, and like Disney like condemned it and that sort of thing, and like so DeSantis is like punishing them by removing this special district. So it's one of those things where like it's kind of bullshit that a private company was allowed to like operate as a county government. So I'm glad that like they can't do that anymore. But on the other hand, like it's kind of stupid that like Ron DeSantis is doing this for like petty bullshit over his "Don't Say Gay" bill. Like it feels like the right thing for the wrong reason. So it's like a very hollow victory. So I mean, I guess it's like this, like the "Don't Say Gay" bill is not good, but like Disney not being a government is also is good. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing that happened.
Yeah.
But still, fuck you, Ron DeSantis. So there's like kind of this fake news thing going around about like Democrats lose their shit that Disney loses its special status. And like they have like a video of the Florida state legislature where the Democrats are like booing and jeering and
pick your poison,
and they're like, oh, look at these corporate shills, but it's fake because at the same time Ron DeSantis is also redistricting Florida, which is like they're choosing the boundaries of congressional districts, which they do every 10 years, and he's doing it to like he's doing it in such a way that gerrymanders out like 2 black majority districts which usually vote Democrat. So like they're mad about that because it affects their jobs. They're not mad about like like they don't give a shit about Disneyland. Like they're mad that like that like DeSantis is going to try and like gerrymander them out of power. So be wary of audience, be wary of like videos claiming they're like shilling for Disney's special administrative privileges. They're actually probably just mad about like the gerrymandering. But so one thing I learned, just while we're on the subject of state legislators. So Tanim, like how much do you think like a state legislator in the U.S. makes, like a state congressman? Like, bearing in mind, like, like it would vary by state because some states are more expensive than others, and like some states are super small. But like a big state like Texas, how much do you think? How much do you think a state legislator makes in Texas?
60,000.
The annual salary of a Texas state legislator is $7,200.
Really?
Yeah, really. Like no shit. Like $7,200, and that's the thing. So like it's partly because state legislator in most states is a part-time job. Like the only state I know of where like you're in, like there's only a handful of states where like legislators are in session for like 52 weeks a year. Like in Texas, they're only like legislators are only in session for 9 weeks out of the year. So you only have like 9 weeks to pass. But in Utah, they're only in for 6. In Montana, they're in for 8. In Kansas, they're in for 17. Louisiana, they're in for 8. Florida, they're in for 8. So like, the reason shit doesn't get done on the state level is because like there's only like 8 weeks to do their job. And like some states pay their legislators well. Like California legislators make $100,000 a year. In Pennsylvania, they make 90. In New York, they make 100 as well. But like in lots of places, they get paid like not very much money because it's supposed to be a part-time job. In New Mexico, state legislators don't get paid at all. Like their salary is zero. And in Kansas, it's like a bunch of places it's like $7,000. So like this has like two effects, because it means like because it's not a full-time job, they can't like spend their full time like writing legislation. So they like it means they like end up getting lobbyists to write legislation for them. But it also means like only rich people can be legislators, because like
Yeah.
you can't afford to live on a $15,000 salary, like to be a Georgia legislator. Like you just can't do it.
Yeah, you gotta have money to support yourself.
No, exactly. And you need staff. And so like a bunch of other states like don't, like Texas I think survives because like even though they have like a very limited amount for salary, they have like at least state senators have like a $41,000 expense account for like staff and travel. So like at the very least, like they have a lot of staff. So like that's how Texas functions. Utah, like they have no budget for staff expenses. They have like $300 is their annual salary, and they're only in the legislature 6 weeks. So the rest of the time, the governor just runs shit. So like democracy just like doesn't like can't really function under these circumstances. And also it means like if you can't do this as like a job, because you can't afford to do it, and like it's not going to like secure your future. So what it means is like you have to like make deals with lobbyists to say like, okay, I'm going to take this shit salary for a few years, but I'm going to pass this legislation for you, like to like give you oil drilling rights on such and such state land, and then you're going to like hire me as a consultant afterwards and pay me like 200K a year.
Yeah.
So like, I know no one likes to pay politicians, but like if you don't, someone else will. Like it's a whole like paradox of government. Like you think that oh, I don't want these crooked politicians like getting money, but like if you don't pay like government employees, they're way more susceptible to bribes. Like half the reason like the mafia flourished was because cops used to like not make very much money, so it was really easy to like bribe the police and bribe judges. But yeah, no. So like, if you live in the states, like your state government, like just like makes a broke ass bitch salary. Only rich people can be legislators, and they're definitely like taking shit from lobbyists to like secure their future. So it's tough. Like I personally make more money than like most state congressmen in the U.S. I make substantially more money than like a legislator from New Jersey.
Go be lobbyists.
Like I don't make as much as like a state legislator from California, but like shit, like it's amazing how few states have functioning state governments.
Now you're just bragging.
No, yeah, like I am bragging. It feels good to be richer than like semi-powerful people. That's not enough money to make laws.
That's why you get all the bribes and you
No, it's not a
look the
bribe.
other
It's
way.
lobbying. It's consulting fees. America doesn't have so much like bribing the cops on the side of the road or bribing state officials to like, give you a business license and put your dudes out of business. But like, we do have like, lobbying, which is legal. So, that's good and fucked up. Speaking of fuck ups, I think our last topic we have here is Netflix. Netflix really shit the bed this week, huh?
Yeah, there goes their stock price.
Yeah, down 35%. So what happened? What you think? You think their business model is collapsing or what?
No, I think just more internal changes, increase in pricing, and then I think they had like a sharing password fee that they introduced.
Yeah, because so they're like they're limiting the amount of passwords you can share. I don't know if they've implemented it on Canadian Netflix or my family just doesn't use my Netflix account because like they haven't come to me to complain that like
They're paying
yeah,
more.
exactly. I feel pretty good because like it used to be I mooched my parents' Netflix, but now they mooch mine because like my wife works in TV, so I get to like steal all the
Reap
passwords.
the benefits.
Exactly. I have a theory on this, and it's basically that like if you look at Netflix's direct competitors, at least in the U.S., it's like Disney Plus, Warner Brothers, and like or HBO Max owned by Warner Brothers, and Peacock owned by Comcast. And so there's like they have like there's only like four big movie studios. There's like Disney, which also owns 20th Century Fox. There's Warner Brothers. There's Comcast, which owns Universal, and
Sony,
there's Sony, which owns Sony owns Columbia, and they also own TriStar, I think. Am I missing one?
Universal.
Universal is owned by Comcast. Oh, sorry, Paramount is owned by Viacom,
There.
or at least last I checked, they could have merged into another company. Anyway, so like Warner Brothers and Disney at the very least have like literally 100 years of like TV and movies to fall back on as their content. And it's like, like well beloved content, like, like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and, all the Disney sports movies and all the Fox TV shows like The Simpsons and King of the Hill and Futurama. And Netflix's whole deal is they basically had like a limited period of time where they could like, sell other studios content and at the same time build a subscriber base and like build a library of original content that people wanted to see. And they had to do this all but like build a competitive enough library to compete with Warner Brothers' like 100 years of movies. Like before Disney and Warner Brothers figured out their business model and got wise to it and started selling their content to the customer directly. Their time is kind of up because now Disney and Warner Brothers have decided like to do just that and sell their content directly to the customer. And they're going to like kind of run dry on this. Their other competitors, Apple Plus and Amazon, like they don't give a shit about their streaming platforms because like they have like this is just some shit they do on the side. Like their main business, like selling iPhones and like Amazon Web Service, like that's their bread and butter. Like the streaming service, like they can just subsidize with those other businesses. Plus Amazon just bought MGM, so now they have like MGM's century of movies to like sell to us now.
Yeah.
So they I don't know what MGM owns besides James Bond, but at the very least they have all the James Bond movies now. So like I think Netflix is pretty fucked.
Plus Amazon now. I mean, not now, but Amazon also has streaming with Twitch.
Oh yeah? Like do you think that'll make a difference?
No, I'm just saying that's another revenue source for them.
Oh, okay, yeah. But like isn't like all their media shit like and even their like home delivery stuff just like gravy and like everything is paid for by Amazon Web Service?
Pretty much, yeah. Their warehouses, their bread and butter.
Or not even the warehouse, but like the web service, like the like all their like tech shit, their web hosting and stuff. If you couldn't tell, I don't actually know that much about tech. I don't actually know what Amazon Web Service does, but like I have heard that like that's like their number one source of money. and like they don't actually make that much on like their retail stores or like their online retail. But
Right.
and like Amazon Music and like Audible and like Amazon Prime streaming, that's all just like a conspiracy of them to like own the underlying infrastructure of the economy. And for Bezos to take over the world.
Do you think Elon should buy Twitter?
Probably not. But like it just seems like it's a bad idea. Because there's all the poison pills that'll prevent him from buying it. But like it just, I don't know. Doesn't it seem like he has more shit to be his hobby? Like this just seems like he got mad at like Twitter censorship and or being censored on Twitter. He's like, you can't do this to me. I'm the richest man in the world. I'll just fucking buy you, and then you'll have to do what I want. I don't know. This just feels like a power trip. Like it's like and not like a rational thing to do.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what like a fully uncensored Twitter would look like?
It is interesting, but yeah, like Reddit.
Not like Reddit. It would look more like 4chan or like Telegram or some shit. Or what's the other app
I
that
don't know.
QAnon people use?
It's called
Wait,
Tinder.
hold on. Oh, this is gonna fuck up my algorithm.
You're gonna get spam ads.
Okay, I'm going into private browsing. Uncensored Twitter. I think it was Telegram or it was one of the other services. Oh, Parler. It was Parler. Parler is the uncensored Twitter that all the QAnon people go on to. So anyway, yeah, uncensored Twitter would be like Parler in that like Parler was interesting because like people who started it thought like, oh, we're going to create like a nice space for like American right-wing voices to like be uncensored by like the woke liberal left and shit. But then like because it's uncensored, it also became like a haven for like hardcore Islamists to like interact, which I thought was really, really funny. Like that's like the best thing that could have happened. Twitter could just turn into like, remember back when ISIS was first starting out and you just got like ISIS execution videos on Twitter and like ISIS would get into Twitter fights with the CIA and it was like really dystopian and horrible. Yeah, so we'll just go back to that.
More of that.
It'll be great. It'll be like the days of ISIS all over again. Or not. Or it'll just be like what I think will happen is like Elon Musk seems like he's petty enough that like he won't censor shit. He won't censor most shit unless it's like personally offensive to him. He'll allow like most everything, but I think he's petty enough that he can't allow himself to be like overly criticized on Twitter. So I honestly think he might use it to like censor criticism of himself. Or I could be wrong. We will see.
We will see.
But yeah, no. So like, yeah, Netflix just their original content just like there isn't enough of it. It isn't good enough, and it isn't like well beloved enough that people are gonna keep Netflix if they don't have to. I don't know. I know we used to joke at how shitty Amazon Prime was and their original content because they had Mozart in the Jungle, like Francis Ford Coppola's kids show that literally no one watched, but like Netflix just keeps canceling their shows. So like no one has any reason to be like invested in it. And I'm really pissed about this because like I wanted to see more fucking Mindhunters, but they're not doing it. Give me more Mindhunters. I want to see when like tension Holden, they're like old men and they finally catch like the BTK killer in like the 2000s, but they're not letting me have it.
You're right.
Yeah, no, I know. It seems like the problem right now is just that like it's just that like David Fincher doesn't want to do it. But yeah, like and Netflix does have like good shows, but they cancel a lot of shit, and like I don't think the algorithm does a good enough job recommending things. So like F is for Family was good, and Mike Tyson Mysteries is good, and like everyone liked BoJack Horseman for a bit, but like yeah, they do cancel like a lot of like a lot of shit. So you can't really like get invested in it. Like there's definitely not enough on Netflix that I'm thinking like this is my must have streaming. It does have Seinfeld for now, so I got to keep it for that reason. But like inconsistency in the library is a huge problem because like you'll watch like halfway through Seinfeld, and then like it'll lose Seinfeld, and then it'll get it back like a year later, and meanwhile you've just like lost your place. It's not like I think it's worse to have an inconsistent library where like movies just like disappear and aren't there like at random, and it pisses people off. I think that's like worse than just than like having less content. Like that, the inconsistency is what irritates me more than anything. Netflix, just stay consistent, please. Please. I think Netflix is probably pretty fucked. Probably not like bankruptcy fucked, but like it does seem like they're going to become a more minor player in the world of streaming services.
I think they're fine.
No, like they're going to be fine. It's just like Warner Bros. Like the big studios just have such a big library to fall back on. And already have like studios making content that people already know and watch, like like Grey's Anatomy and shit. I don't know. I think they're not gonna like go away as far as I can tell, but at the very least, it does seem like they're gonna like lose out a little bit and like become a more minor player in the streaming wars.
I mean, they might buy a studio. So
no, they should buy a studio, but like which studio can they buy? Like MGM was like the last of like the studios they could have conceivably bought, unless they like decide to buy Columbia from Sony. But I don't think that's gonna happen because like the studios are so fucking big. Oh! I just had an idea. Netflix should buy, or well, actually, okay, Netflix shouldn't do this because I don't want this to happen. But like, if Netflix really wants to like make waves, they should buy A24. A24 is like the only like minor studio that I know has like a fan base. Like people are like, oh, it's an A24 film. Like that means it's going to be good because they make like weird original scripted, like mid-budget shit, like that sort of thing. Which they're making a. Have you seen the trailer for the movie Memory?
No.
Oh, I saw it at. When I went to see Everything Everywhere All at Once, which you haven't seen, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but like everyone should go watch Everything Everywhere All at Once because it's an original script and it's really funny, and it's like the weirdest episode of Rick and Morty I've ever seen.
Nice.
But yeah, everyone go watch that movie. Do it now.
You should also go see The Mitchells versus the Machines. I think it's better animated movie than Turning Red or Encanto.
Is it in Toronto?
Nope.
Not interested. I only watch animated shows that are in Toronto now.
There's only one.
That's just what I do. Oh, okay, yeah. I only watch one animated show. And like, maybe like some amateur web comics of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But yeah. But yeah, so the movie Memory, which I think is an A24 film, because I thought there's also a movie called there's like this horror movie, and it's like really spooky, and then the title is just Men, and I thought that was really funny. It was like, the worst.
They're the worst.
I know. Yeah, there's this movie called Memory, and it's basically like Memento mixed with like Taken. It's like Liam Neeson is suffering like dementia, memory loss, and he's going after like child traffickers. And I thought like this is just boomer QAnon the movie. It's like, oh no, I forgot my medication, but I remember I need to fight the Joe Biden and the child traffickers. I got to do this. It's someone get my pills. That's a funny movie, and I feel like I just have to go see it just because like it's the closest thing I'm gonna get to QAnon the movie. Netflix, if they were smart, like maybe buy A24, but I don't actually want them to buy A24. As long as wait, is A24 already owned by someone?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, every minor studio is. Oh no, A24 is a private studio. Oh, thank God. All right, don't buy A24 Netflix, please, God. So yeah, they're one of the. So yeah, they're one of like the few independent films like outside of like the big ones like Disney, Warner Brothers, Comcast, Sony. Support the independent studios, guys, because they made like a lot of good shit. It's like, oh shit, and they're making an Earthsea movie. What? Oh, now I'm excited. Earthsea is the book that like J.K. Rowling allegedly like ripped off to make Harry Potter.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah. So apparently A24 is making a movie out of it, and
they listen to us.
It's all fucking coming together, man. It's all coming together. We now have influence over the media. I'm kidding. We don't. still. So yeah, the streaming wars will continue. I will probably continue to subscribe to everything just because I can right now, because as long as my wife still has a job in TV and gets all that shit for free, I'll be okay. The rest of you will not be okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You can find us on all your podcast platforms. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and obviously on YouTube. See you guys next time.
All right. See you guys.